Welcome to Gospel Truth with Andrew Wommack, a teaching ministry that focuses on God's unconditional love and grace.
Self-reliance is one of the greatest hindrances to us following God's will and seeing it come to pass in our life.
I knew that God was speaking to me about, that even though it doesn't look like it's possible for us to do it, that maybe God has some other plans.
And now, here's Andrew.
Welcome to our Tuesday's broadcast of the Gospel Truth. I'm now into my fourth week of teaching on a subject that I've entitled, How to Find, Follow, and Fulfill God's Will. This is what revolutionized my life and pointed me in the direction that God wanted me to go. And I tell you, I have loved teaching on this. It has just transformed me. And I know that these same truths will work for any single person that'll put them into practice. I haven't got time to go back through everything that I've taught, but it's really important. We have all of this teaching archived on our website, and you can go there and watch the programs for free. Also, I've got this little booklet entitled My Appointment with God that talks about my experience on March the 23rd, 1968, where God really changed my life. And we're offering that as a gift to you. We'll give you all that information at the end of the program. Yesterday, I was talking about, real quickly, I had this experience March the 23rd, 1968, and within 2 months, I had to come to a decision. Was I going to stay in school or get out? I was in my first year of college. I was living by myself at the time, and I was enjoying college, but when I had this encounter with the Lord, God just put such a burning in my heart that I wanted to share the gospel with people that, to me, college was an absolute waste of time. Now, I'm not saying that's for everybody, but for me, that's the way I felt. And so I was going to quit, but my mother, she was off getting her master's degree. And so she wasn't living at home. She was actually living in Durant, Oklahoma, but she would come home on the weekends. And she just thought that I was crazy to quit college, especially because I had a deferment from the draft. This is during the height of the Vietnam War, 1968. And I had a deferment from the draft as long as I stayed in school. Plus, I was getting $350 from the government because of my dad's insurance, or I guess it was his Social Security. As long as I stayed in school, I got $350 a month to pay for my schooling, and I had the acceptance of my family and everybody else as long as I just did what everybody expected me to do. So there was all kinds of reasons to stay in school, but I just lost my desire for anything except God and telling people about the Lord. And so I said I was going to quit school, and boy, my mother hit the roof, and so I decided to stay, but I was struggling because I wasn't enjoying it. I hated it, as a matter of fact. And then I saw the verse in Romans 14:23 that says, whatsoever is not of faith is sin. And I realized I was in sin because I felt pulled in one direction, but because of the counsel and the acceptance or the possible rejection from people, I was going in a different direction. And I wasn't doing what I really felt in my heart. And according to Romans 14:23, I was in sin. And so I made a decision I wasn't going to be in sin the next day. And this verse in Colossians chapter 3, verse 15 says, let the peace of God rule in your heart. And that word rule, I said this yesterday, is the word we get umpire from, and it means you have to make a decision. You can't not make a decision. You can't say, well, let's just do it over. No, you've got to make a decision, and once it's made, you can't reverse it. And the Lord just basically spoke to me and said, let peace rule in your heart. And so that night, I was determined that I was going to make a decision, and I was going to do the right thing. Even if I made a wrong decision, I felt like I would be better to make the wrong decision, but do it by faith, than to be doing what I was doing just because it was what would gain me acceptance with everybody else. Even if I made the wrong decision, but if it was done in faith, God could bless that more than lack of decision just because I wanted to be accepted with people. And so I said, God, I'm going to make a decision tonight. And I began to pray, God, how do I discern? And when you let the peace of God rule in your heart, I didn't have peace, total peace, in any direction. If I quit school, I was possibly going to be drafted and sent to Vietnam. I was going to lose money that I was getting from my father's Social Security, and I was going to be rejected by every single person that I had talked to about this. So I didn't feel peace about that. It didn't excite me. I didn't just love it. But when I considered the alternative, staying in school, I felt zero peace about that. And again, I don't have the words to describe. This isn't for everybody, but for me, when I thought about staying in college, I hated it. Matter of fact, did you know that after this decision, I probably had nightmares, I would say at least 20 years after this, and I would have them at least once every 6 months, usually twice a year. I would have a nightmare where I was back in school. I mean, to some people that's not a nightmare, but to me that's how much I hated it. It was like, oh God, no. And I would try and find, my locker or the class I was supposed to go to, and it was one of these things where it was just total frustration. And that went on for about 20 years. And then I was in a church with Dan Funkhauser. He was my pastor. He pastored in Green Mountain Falls. And Dan is a great guy in many ways, but one of the things about Dan is he's just secure in who he is in the Lord, and he doesn't care what people think about him. Now, he probably does to some degree, but he cared about it much less than I did. And he was just a very secure guy. And anyway, in one of these nightmares that I was having 20 years or more after I'd already gotten out of school, I actually made it into class for the first time. Usually I never made it to class. It was just the frustration of figuring out where I needed to go and why am I back in school. But in this dream, I actually made it to class. I was sitting in a seat and I was just feeling like this is wrong. I know God told me to quit school. And I looked over and Pastor Dan Funkhauser was sitting next to me. And I looked at him and I said, what are you doing here? This is all in my dream. And he looked at me and he says, the question is, what are you doing here? He says, why do you care what people think about you? He says, you know what God told you to do. He says, let's get out of here. And so we got up and we walked to the door. And as the door was closing, I stuck my head back in the door and I said, I'll never have this dream again. And I never have. It's probably been another 20-something years since then. And you know what it was? It was really just when I felt insecure and people were criticizing me, I'd always go back to this decision I made about quitting school. Because I got criticized big time over this. I actually had the people in my Baptist church, the elders of the church came to me and said, you can't be a Christian and say that God told you to quit school. I know some of you think that's an exaggeration, but I was in a highbrow church where when the pulpit was empty, they would go get somebody from the seminary, the Southwestern Baptist Theological Seminary in Fort Worth, and they would come and speak. And they were so intellectual, you would have to sit there with a dictionary to, try and understand what they were saying. Education was just everything. And when I said that God was telling me to quit school, the feathers hit the fan. So all of this to say that when I was sitting here trying to discern what do I have peace about, I didn't have total peace about quitting school because, again, I could be drafted, I'd lose money from the government, and I was going to be criticized because I already was being criticized, and it was going to be much worse if I just made a definitive decision. So I didn't feel total peace, but when I thought about staying in school, I had zero peace. None. There was nothing in me that wanted me to stay in school. And so I was thinking and saying, God, I don't feel total peace. Which direction do I go? And the Lord put it to me this way. He says, you follow the direction that you feel the most peace about. And He spoke to me and gave me an example that if somebody had a gun pointed to your head and the thing cocked, and they said, you make a decision right now, and if you make the wrong decision, I'm going to kill you. Which decision would you make? Well, again, there wasn't total peace, but there was no doubt about the one I felt the most peace about. And I said, I would quit school. And he says, well, then just head in that direction. And so that night, based on Colossians 3:15, let the peace of God rule in your heart, I said, all right, to the best of my ability, I'm going to follow peace. And I have no peace about staying in college. And I don't have complete peace about quitting, but I have more peace about that. And I'm going to let the peace of God rule. And so I made a decision in my prayer time. I told the Lord, that's it. In the morning, I'm going to start telling people that I'm quitting school, that you have told me to do this, and this is the direction that I'm going. And I went to bed and I slept good. So the next day, here's another thing the Lord spoke to me during that time. He says, if you were in a boat and you were going someplace, that little tiny rudder can change the direction of that boat. But if you're sitting still, you could flip that rudder 360 degrees and it will never give direction to that boat. You have to start moving. And if you aren't confident that you are moving in the right direction, well then move slowly. You don't have to go full speed ahead. Just move slowly and you will either have that peace start bearing witness and say, yes, this was the right decision, or no, it was the wrong decision. But you've got to start moving. So based on that, I got up the next day and I went to the 3 people who had criticized me the most. One was a school teacher that I had a good relationship with. She was a born-again person and she was real strong in the Lord, and I valued her opinion. But she was also a friend of my mother. And my mother was a school teacher, and this woman thought that she was doing my mother a favor by telling me how crazy I was to even contemplate quitting school. And she had let me have it. There was another guy who was my youth director, and he was actually there the night that I experienced God, what this little booklet about, Marion Warren. He was in that prayer meeting, and he was my youth director at the church, and he had just told me that you are crazy. You are missing God. And then there was another lady who was just a friend of mine. She was about 20 or 30 years older than me, but I looked at her kind of like a spiritual mother, and I valued her opinion. And all 3 of these people had let me have it when I told them I was contemplating quitting school. So the next day after I made this decision, I just got up and went and saw these people just to kind of test the waters, to let the peace of God see if this was the right thing or not. And I remember going in to see this school teacher, this lady, and I walked in and I told her, I said, Miss Ellis, I said, I've made my decision about what I'm going to do about college. And so she said, what is it? And I said, I believe God has told me to quit school, and I'm going to quit school. And I was braced for her to come out against me with everything she had. And she just stood there and got tears in her eyes. And she says, I would give anything to be where you are. That totally shocked me. I was expecting anything but that kind of a reaction. And I said, you would? I said, why would you do that? And she says, I don't know how old she was, but however, she says, I'm this old, and I don't know for sure that I've ever done exactly what God told me to do. And she says, I would be anything. I'd give anything to be 18 years old and know that I am following God's will for my life. And man, after I left there, I was shouting and praising God. You talk about the peace of God. It was growing exponentially. Then I went and saw my youth director, which had been very critical of me. And I told him that I believe this is what God has told me to do. And he just all of a sudden, he says, you know what? I think that that's right. And he bore witness with it. And every person that I went and told about it, within 24 hours of me making that decision, I had a number of confirmations that this was God's will. And so I headed in that direction. And did you know, in the natural, there was a lot of bad things that happened. I did lose my student deferment, and I did get drafted, and I did get sent to Vietnam. Some people would look at that and think, well, boy, you missed God. But you know, looking back on it, in hindsight, that was one of the best things that ever happened in my life. It wasn't fun, and at the time, it wasn't fun at all. But I look back at it, and I was just in a situation where I was isolated for 13 months, and out of nothing but sheer determination and boredom, because there was nothing else to do, I just started studying the Word anywhere from 10 to 15 hours a day. and I pulled bunker guard every single night and prayed at least 4 hours every night. I was spending somewhere around, 12 to 16 hours a day minimum, just seeking God with my whole heart. And looking back at that, when I came out of Vietnam, I was stronger than horseradish. God had changed my life, and it was a good thing for me. I also lost money from the government, but God gave me back much more than anything that I lost. I also got criticized and basically kicked out of a church. And at first I felt really bad about that, and I was praying about this and saying, God, they're kicking me out of the church. And He told me, He says, don't worry, they won't let me in there either. And so anyway, it turned out to be one of the greatest decisions that I've ever made in my life. And it was made in 2 months after I had this miraculous encounter with the Lord. I didn't have very much maturity at all, but I let the peace of God rule in my heart, and I have never rejected it. Did you know that same experience that this little booklet is about? I had a number of people with me, and my best friend, he was also in this prayer meeting, and he got turned on to the Lord, and we were seeking the Lord together. But he decided, he also decided to quit school. Both of us did. But when he quit school and they sent him his, pre-induction physical notice, he panicked and he went and joined the Army so that he could be guaranteed to be sent to Korea instead of to Vietnam. And so he avoided Vietnam. But we wrote back and forth during the time in Vietnam, and he felt like he had missed God, that he just, panicked, and he did something in the natural, what his parents and other people were telling him to do. And his whole time there was miserable, and he came out of there having lost his zeal. And he's still born again. He still serves God to a degree, but it didn't work out well for him. I'm telling you, when I made this decision and I stuck with it, I never, ever doubted. Even though I was in situations where people tried to kill me and it was hot and I went hungry. We lived off sea rations for 2 months in Vietnam. I remember going 2 months without taking a bath and literally having to just rub the dirt off of me and sweep it out the door. I mean, there was a lot of hardship in Vietnam. But did you know what? I never one time doubted that I had done exactly what God told me to do, and therefore whatever consequence came of it was no problem. I could deal with it knowing that I was doing what God told me to do. There is a peace and a satisfaction that comes in your life when you know that you are in the center of God's will, that you'll never get any other way. And it just strengthens you and enables you to deal with it. But on the other hand, if you're just doing your own thing and then problems arise, one of the first thoughts that's going to come to you is, oh, I missed God. This is a result of my own bad choices. I deserve this. Now, praise God for the grace of God. I believe even if you make a mistake, that God will never leave you nor forsake you, and He could turn that thing around. But you lose your confidence. You lose your security when you are doing your own thing and asking God to bless it. There is something supernatural about just knowing that, God, I'm exactly where you want me to be. And right now, I just feel in my heart like the Lord is saying to a lot of people watching this program that you have never felt that absolute assurance and peace that you are doing exactly what God told you to do. Again, there are steps and stages. You may not be in the fulfillment of the end result, what it's going to be, but you ought to at least be able to say, I know I'm where I'm supposed to be today. I'm in process. I'm moving in that direction. And if you can't say that, if you don't know beyond a shadow of a doubt what God's will is for your life, well then there's no way you're going to prosper beyond that. And even if you know what God has told you to do, but if you haven't learned how to follow God's leading and you're trying to accomplish God's will in your own strength and power, you're going to blow the whole thing. It's just a matter of time. One of the things that was a real blessing to me when I was pastoring in Childress, Texas, this would have been in 1976 and 77. I only had a very few people coming to the church, and so I didn't have a whole bunch of demand on my time, and so I started going into nursing homes. and ministering in nursing homes. And I'd do that 2 or 3 hours a week. And it was a real blessing to me because I went in and saw people. I remember this one lady in particular who was very well off. You could tell she had been a beautiful woman. She was always dressed to the nines. She always had her hair combed. She looked proper all of the time. But nobody would ever come see her. And this woman would just sit in this nursing home, and most days when I went in, she'd be sitting there crying. And she had been a pastor's wife, a Methodist pastor's wife. And at one time, she was the social elite in the town. Everybody was looking up to her. And she used to tell me about how important she used to be and how everybody wanted to be around her. And now she was put out to pasture. Nobody would ever come see her. And she spent most of her days just sitting there crying. And I'd go in and minister to this lady often. And it was good for me because this woman at one time had been a mover and shaker, but she was past her prime. And I saw that everybody, sooner or later, is going to come to the end of themselves. With most of us, it's sooner. We make mistakes along the way and things don't work out and we crash and burn even while we're young. But if nothing else, every single person, if you live long enough, is going to reach an age where you're past your prime and you are no longer able to contribute the way you used to be. And if you are just depending upon yourself and your own ability, then you're going to come to a place to where nobody wants you because you're no longer productive. Man, that's sad. And this was good for me because I realized that, man, I need to make my life count. And the only thing that really makes my life count is not what I can do, but what I will allow God to do through me. And you need to come to this awareness. And you need to recognize that there is nothing that you can do in your own strength and power that will even come close to accomplishing what you could do if you would submit yourself to God and let Him work His will through you. And how do you do that? That's what we've been talking about now for 4 weeks. And specifically right now, I'm talking about you just let the peace of God rule in your heart. Look at your life and look at the direction that your life is going. And does this cause you peace? Do you look at it and say, thank you, Father, for such a wonderful thing that you've done. Thank you for the awesome opportunities you've given. And I know that you that have begun a good work, you're going to perform it. Do you feel peace about where you are and where you're going? Or do you look at it and wonder and have fear about, man, what's going to happen when I get old? You need to know that you are doing what God told you to do. And one of those ways is you let the peace of God rule, umpire in your heart. And some of you right now don't feel peace about where you are. You're doing it because it just seems like that's what you've got to do to survive. You need to make a decision and start following that peace. And I promise you, if you'll do that, I believe you will prove the good, acceptable, and perfect will of God. You'll never regret it. I've got this book entitled How to Find, Follow, and Fulfill God's Will, and I promise you this would really help you in these 3 areas. We've also got study guides. We've got 15 hours worth of teaching on either CD or DVDs, and I'm also offering this little booklet that I wrote in just about a couple of hours, and it's about my experience March the 23rd, 1968. Just 25 pages. We'll give that as our gift to anybody who contacts us. So listen to our announcer as he gives you all the information about these products, and please call or write today.
Welcome to the AWM Minute, a small glimpse on how the friends and partners of Andrew Wommack Ministries and Charis Bible College are making a difference in lives around the world. Lives like Johan, a former drug dealer from Holland. While in prison, Johan had a supernatural encounter with Jesus, where instead of shame and condemnation, he felt God's unconditional love and grace. Without proper knowledge of the Bible, Johan's liberty in Christ was stolen by the enemy in the form of works-based religion. That is, until he came across Andrew Wommack on YouTube.
My eye fell on the teaching of a better way to pray. I was thrown back into the same freedom that I had when I was receiving Jesus in my prison cell.
Since then, Johan and his wife Brenda have graduated Charis Netherlands and are actively sharing the gospel throughout Holland and Brazil. To see Johan's full grace encounter, visit awmi.net today.
Today, Andrew's offering his brand new booklet, My Appointment with God, as his gift to you, absolutely free. This is his personal life-changing story arising from a divine encounter on March 23, 1968. This offer is limited to one free booklet per household and is available in the US, UK, Canada, and Australia. Go to awmi.net to order your free booklet today. Andrew's teaching titled How to Find, Follow, and Fulfill God's Will is available in a book for a gift of any amount. The full series is available in 3 individual teachings: How to Find God's Will, How to Follow God's Will, and How to Fulfill God's Will. Each series is available in a DVD album made from our daily television broadcast or in a CD or DVD album recorded live at a ministry event. These teachings are also found in 3 comprehensive study guides. Each resource is yours for a gift of any amount when you write or call. Andrew is also offering these products as part of the God's Will package. It includes his free booklet, My Appointment with God, along with the How to Find, Follow, and Fulfill God's Will book, all 3 study guides, and your choice of DVD or CD albums. This entire package has a catalog value of $180, but is yours today for just $130.
I'd like to ask you to pray about becoming a partner with us. You know, our ministry is based in the United States, but we have 16 offices around the world. We've got altogether around 70 Bible schools scattered around the world. So if you are looking for a good return on your investment, I believe that this is a good ministry. It'll touch you right where you are. And I encourage you to become a partner with us today and help us put the gospel out all around the world.
You can order resources through our website at awmi.net or receive prayer by calling our helpline at 719-635-1111. Our helpline is open 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. We appreciate your generosity and hope to hear from you today.
I want to let you know that we have now started a Charis Daily live Bible study. We've been doing a Bible study every Tuesday night live for about 2 years, but now we have 5 days a week. We've varied the times so that we can accommodate anybody's schedule, and it's going to really be good. We're going to use our instructors from the school, and it'll be a blessing. So remember, we now have a Charis Daily live Bible study 5 days a week.
I tell you, I'm excited. God is going to do something special during these meetings.
I felt that he was just speaking truth.
The perspective is so different, it's so new, and the understanding runs so deep.
When you start speaking to your problem and commanding it to leave, that's when you start seeing great things happen.
Andrew's teaching and the love that he has for God's Word and truth, it is the gospel truth.